but it doesn't collapse in straight back because that would be ridiculously unlikely. Is it crumples in a direction, either to the left or to the right.
Oh shit.
Or wherever.
Right.
And then the bullet, in whatever direction it tumbles, the centrifugal force is it's going forward so far that even if it changes direction, it's like your car hydroplaning. It's still going to go forward, more or less. But as it travels through tissue, like if it tilted up, it tilts down, it's staying down, turns sideways, and as it pointed, it kind of directs down. Then once it gets more than halfway, it kind of zigzags back up, and then it restabilizes traveling backwards because the back is heavier than the front.
Right.
And then it makes a 5.45 exit wound.
Oh wow.
On the other side.
Huh.
So the Afghanis were the first human beings, other than really unfortunate fucking Russian prisoners, to be involuntary test subjects, to be shot with these things. And the Afghanis called it the poison bullet, because it made this little entry and this little exit, and you know they're like.
But what happened on the inside?
The Afghanis don't really do autopsies on people.
Yeah.
Because it, as I said, especially when it turns sideways, as you might notice, is a pretty long bullet.
Yeah.
As it's traveling sideways, it's kind of tearing along those sides, and then it, but it also makes this weird zigzag pattern.
Yeah, that's it.
But had like 20 some odd friendly Afghan army and stuff died, and we had like 17 American wounded, and like 30, 40 friendly Afghani wounded. The whole thing turned into this massive shitstorm. But I talked to some of the Marines, and yeah, they totally offed some civilians, like, totally on purpose, too, which we didn't blame them one bit, because, like...
Well, they're freaking out, huh?
They're, it's rules of engagement. Unless they have a weapon, and they're shooting this weapon at you, you aren't allowed to kill them. Well, the one guy I know, he shot this lady, because... The thing was, is she was, like, running across this street in this middle of, fucking town that's turning into a massive gunfight with this big, like, cooking pot sort of thing. Yeah. She trips and, like, drops it, and, like, big old PKM machine gun belt, like, rolls out and everything. At which point, she picks it back up, throws it back in, starts running off with it again up towards the fireman, and he's just like, fuck you, lady. Down, down! Yeah. And which, they're like, you're not allowed to shoot women, and it's like... Ammo! Yeah. Ammo is important!
Yeah, yeah.
I like the M14, it's a good gun, but it's also really old. It's an M1 Garand with a detachable box magazine.
Really?
Yeah. In a 308 instead of 30-06. That's like really the only differences in the weapon system. But and the M1 Garand is the greatest, to quote General Patton, the greatest implement of war ever created. In the 1940s, or first half of the 1940s, once the AK-47 went into production. Which, it's sad to think that the Russians, is we didn't actually, the CIA, we had no idea that the AK-47 existed. Until Prague, in Czechoslovakia, had this big revolt. Because, we had all this radio stuff. It's like, you must cast off the shackles of the communist oppressors, and da-da-da-da-da, be good capitalists. Well, the people in Prague actually tried to do it. And they actually more or less took over the city. But then, like, the Russians were like, this isn't gonna happen. And they just rolled in and fucking killed everybody. But there were, like, some news crews and shit there, and, like, the first that we knew of the AK-47
was on a news crew
was the Russian frickin'...
Yeah, right.
And if you get into a street fight with that versus AK-47s, but by and large, it throws off your aim every time you have to chamber the next round. Whereas this is just like poof, 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 and they're like, fuck! Fuck! And it's like, oh, I lined up with the target. Oh, the target's already done.
Wow. Shit. Yeah, that's true.